Welcome back to Dinar Trend Tracker channel. In the world of international finance, there is a big story developing in Iraq. The Iraqi government reportedly announced a new contract rate for the dinar. Considered a watershed moment in Iraq's shifting economic strategy, this decision clarifies official government policy and puts an end to the deluge of internet conjecture that has dogged the currency for years. The rate's direct source from central authorities has ignited a great deal of discussion among global financial networks as specialists endeavor to decipher its potential implications for Iraq's economy in the future. The focus here is on getting a firm grasp on the nature and significance of this contract rate. Please understand that this is neither a public exchange rate nor is it one that regular people may use to trade currencies. The operation of a contract rate is greatly different. Large-scale transactions are the only ones that use this negotiated value. Governments, large enterprises, or huge banks typically collaborate on large-scale projects or trade agreements in these arrangements. Those who keep tabs on the global economy will take note of Iraq's plan to institute such a rate. Because of this, it can be inferred that the country is confident in the long-term stability of its currency, and is prepared to engage in higher-level global commerce. According to economists, a country's decision to establish such a rate typically indicates its readiness for a more substantial and organized role in the global economy. Looking at Iraq's economic history from a distance can help us grasp the gravity of the situation. Decades of conflict, sanctions, and instability have the Iraqi dinar's regional value. The constant discussion about a possible revaluation in the future was fueled by its low value, which became a topic of conversation on a global scale. For that reason, the most recent declaration is a watershed moment. After years of speculation, the value of the dinar is finally being linked to a concrete government action. Some have argued that this is the most concrete and policy-based move Iraq has made to bolster the value of its currency in recent memory. A thorough and rapid response has been received on a global scale. According to experts from all over the globe, this statement is one of the most significant financial events for Iraq in 2025. Iraq may try out a higher valuation in a restricted setting with this new contract rate, according to one prominent hypothesis, before making any public actions. It would be useful for officials to know how a stronger dinar affects inflation and import costs before making any further changes, if that is indeed the case. Some regard this as a geopolitical move, with Iraq trying to reassure international investors that its economy is getting its act together. Regardless, it is widely acknowledged that the entire world is now intently observing. The worldwide discourse has had a new tone this time as well. Historically, discussions surrounding Iraq's economy have primarily focused on its instability or catastrophe. Reform, modernization, and a proactive approach are the buzzwords among experts at the moment. The change in tone reflects the increasing self-assurance felt by both Iraqi leaders and international observers. This shift occurred gradually. Consistent effort over many years has modernized Iraq's banking sector by enhancing transparency, enhancing regulations, and modernizing banking technology. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have long advocated for this type of modernization, so these measures have been crucial in re-establishing trust with them. Problems like inflation and corruption, which have long plagued Iraq, have also made significant strides forward. According to reports, the government has reduced inflation, strengthened its foreign currency reserves, and tightened financial monitoring. Taken as a whole, these developments provide the impression that Iraq's economy is in far better shape than it has been for decades. Therefore, experts are being serious when they state that the new contract rate is more than a mere figure. Iraq is sending a message that it is prepared to start a new chapter in its economic history by being credible and having a strategy for the future, rather than relying on hope or speculation. However, specialists are fast to explain the implications for the general public. Contract prices are often reserved for larger transactions. Consider government-level trade, energy contracts, or infrastructure projects. No one, including yourself, can utilize this rate when exchanging currencies. However, it is still important. According to economists, governments frequently use specialized rates as a trial run before making changes to their public exchange rates. As a result, you can test the system with less risk and be ready for bigger moves in the future. It feels like vindication for longtime Dinar story fans. If Iraq can manage these high-value contracts smoothly, without generating inflation or market turmoil, this might pave the way for a far bigger shift in the future. After years of discussion, the government is now formally addressing the matter. Currency reforms are a long process, but experts are stressing that point anyway. Changes in valuation that are significant do not occur suddenly. International assistance, meticulous planning, and political coordination led to their creation. But this is significant symbolically. The topic of Iraq is no longer being avoided, it's shaping it with purposeful actions. Just by straightening up, you've communicated assurance and purpose. Historians of international finance are drawing parallels to similar turning points in the economic development of other countries. When their currencies go from poor and isolated to strong and respected worldwide, countries like China, Vietnam, and Kuwait all follow a similar path. It would appear that Iraq is following a similar strategy, with a controlled contract rate serving as a link between speculation and long-term change. The time is also important. The region is experiencing greater stability, oil exports are on the rise, and international investment is picking up speed. All things considered, Iraq is in an ideal position to improve its financial situation. This story also has an emotional aspect to it. There have been two distinct groups of people, believers and skeptics, when it comes to discussions on the dinar. A reevaluation was considered a pipe dream by some, but an inescapable reality by others. The discussion, however, is changing now that this official policy is underway. The longtime believers are elated, and even the naysayers are beginning to change their minds. There has been no public reassessment confirmed by this announcement. However, this does show that the Iraqi central bank is not sitting on its hands but is actively pursuing new monetary policies. On a larger scale, this action is in line with Iraq's objectives on international trade. Major energy businesses, infrastructure developers, and digital banking companies are among the organizations the nation has been aggressively courting for cooperation. The deals are easier to secure when you have a structured contract rate. For projects with a longer time horizon, it reassures international investors in the currency's stability. That self-assurance has the potential to ignite a domino effect, drawing in additional business, increasing the dinar's reserves, and fortifying it even further. This is a turning point, according to many experts. It is possible that Iraq's economy is about to enter a new era of true legitimacy. Just said, this might end up being Iraq's most significant financial move since the early 2000s. If successful, the country's reputation as an investment risk might plummet and its market could rise and stabilize, completely altering the global perception of the dinar. Things go beyond currency exchange rates. It's about Iraqi economic identity reclamation following decades of suffering. As we delve further into the year 2025, this topic will certainly continue to dominate conversations surrounding emerging markets and global finance. The current policy's development is the most important thing to keep an eye on. Using the new rate, monitor any indications of international collaborations, central bank updates, and Iraq's next big trade transactions. Significance of Iraq's financial strategy can be assessed by the number of countries and firms using this method to execute contracts. One thing is evident at this time: Iraq is now discussing more than just reform. Currency holders should organize their materials and verify their eligibility should official notifications be provided. The reports circulating provide a detailed, step-by-step preparedness checklist to help with this process. Rumor has claimed that this system will be quite methodical and picky. These documents now offer the term contract rate as a distinct rate tier from regular market exchange rates. Previously, it was considered hypothetical. It has been reported that only those who fulfill specific verification and participation requirements would be granted access. They're linked to specific commitments, such as development programs, humanitarian projects, or long-term reinvestment initiatives that are in line with economic growth goals, is the main justification given for these rates. The main point being driven home is that taking part will necessitate diligence, accuracy, and evidence of one's authenticity. Reports frequently emphasize that documentation is the first key component of this preparation system. To meet banking and regulatory standards, this first stage is to gather and verify all necessary personal and transactional records. People who own currency should always keep their government-issued identification documents up to date and easily verifiable, such as passports or national driver's licenses. Make sure none of these documents are expired. The goal is to create a clear form of identification that complies with international standards. The next step after confirming your identity is to show that you have the legal right to own the money you are putting up. Original documents such as receipts, accounts of transactions, or affidavits attesting to ownership status that have been notarized may be required. These documents provide a comprehensive trail of where money came from and who owned it, which aids in the fight against fraud and money laundering on a global scale. Proof of address and financial history is an extra step of verification that these recommendations stress. In order to confirm an individual's current residence, redemption centers typically ask for documentation such as utility bills, bank statements, or tax returns. Financial institutions can use this to verify a client's identity and location, which complies with global Know Your Customer (KIC) standards. Additionally, financial institutions should verify that all Know Your Customer (KIC) information is up to date, examine past transactions, and assess current accounts. According to researchers, there are two main goals in performing these assessments. In order to swiftly process compliant participants' submissions and avoid fraudulent ones. The major safeguards of this phase, which ensure that only confirmed individuals efficiently progress through the system, are preparedness and authenticity. Presentation is also an important part of the process, much as documentation. If exchange appointments do take place, they are anticipated to be well coordinated, short, and scheduled in a secure environment. Along with legitimate credentials and legal ownership, individuals must be prepared to professionally and calmly participate in a substantial financial process. The reports advise that in order to avoid technical concerns that could create delays, all files, whether digital or physical, should be organized in labeled folders or binders and backed up regularly. These results suggest that a participant's level of preparedness will be directly reflected in their presentation. Prepare a brief 2-minute summary of your reinvestment or humanitarian intentions. This will help you stay focused and clear throughout your short appointment windows, according to some experts. Thirdly, one's own attitude and behavior are often highlighted. According to those in the know, redemption personnel will look for signs of professionalism and composure in addition to accurate documentation. A greater risk classification and subsequent offer of ordinary market rates may be extended to persons who exhibit signs of disorganization, impatience, or confrontation, according to reports. On the other hand, premium categories may give more weight to applicants who exhibit composure and efficiency. From what I can see, the process is very similar to a highly disciplined and protocol-driven high-level financial operation. Beginning with their arrival at the facility, the evaluation procedure is anticipated to place significant weight on each participant's approach and behavior. The incorporation of non-disclosure agreements, NDA, is supposedly another important factor associated with this procedure. These legally enforceable documents may be required of participants who are given access to contract or premium rates. Their objective is to forestall disclosures that can cause market disruptions by keeping information secret and safeguarding the integrity of institutions. According to the reports, these agreements will cover all bases and be legally binding. Anyone holding currency should study the fine print and, if feasible, consult an attorney before signing. Strict secrecy is required after these agreements are inked. According to reports, there could be legal consequences or the loss of money for any violation. This is a usual safeguard in delicate financial matters, according to observers. Reports of transactions also show that dealings with certain authorized financial institutions may be necessary to qualify for contract rates. Smaller regional institutions may only be able to handle regular transactions, while larger global banks with strong wealth management departments supposedly have the necessary infrastructure to handle these kinds of trades. This is why it's crucial to find genuine recovery centers and stay away from shady middlemen, according to analysts. Financial watchdogs anticipate an uptick in scams as anticipation grows. There have been alerts that no legitimate financial institution will ask for the transfer or mailing of funds prior to a confirmed appointment. People should only use officially recognized and publicly acknowledged means of communication. Being ready to reinvest or plan humanitarian projects is another important suggestion. Those who can demonstrate that they would spend the funds in a reasonable and productive way may be given more priority, according to these reports. The thinking behind this is because goals for economic development are frequently associated with premium rate distributions. Proposals should be brief and focused on attainable goals with quantifiable impacts on the community or infrastructure in order to attract investors. A concise two-page proposal or one-paragraph executive summary that highlights responsibility, structure, and impact is seen to be adequate. Not only a formality, but a practical show of intent and readiness, such paperwork is considered. The circulating instruction also consistently emphasizes the importance of time. It is possible, according to analysts, that appointment slots will be assigned quickly and conducted under tight time restriction once notifications start. Opportunities may be lost or relegated to lower priority categories if confirmation or attendance is not made within the specified periods. As a result, investors should keep an eye on reliable news sources, keep communication routes safe, and be prepared logistically for quick deployment. During its initial deployment period, the redemption phase is planned to function under high security and around-the-clock scheduling. Participants will need to be flexible and attentive. The redemption visit will likely be swift and painless, taking anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes tops, depending on the specifics of each case. During this time, necessary steps such as authenticating currencies, verifying identities, and signing documents, including the execution of non-disclosure agreements, would take place. Afterwards, a distinct review step may be entered by those who are eligible for premium consideration. Analysts think that participants will be better able to keep their cool and not become confused if they are familiar with this organized process in advance. Reliability and professionalism are demonstrated through being well prepared in terms of both materials and behavior. The emphasis is on managing finances for the long term, not only in the short term. Getting a good rate is just the first step in a longer financial journey. The reports advise getting in touch with tax, legal, and wealth management experts who can set up trusts, companies, and other protected structures in advance. It is anticipated that there would be increased market volatility and changing regulatory conditions in the first 90 days after redemption. It is crucial to have proper assistance during this period in order to safeguard and maintain new money, according to analysts. It is considered smart to prepare for any financial and compliance issues by forming an interdisciplinary consulting team in advance. Lastly, there is a consistent emphasis on the need of personal and digital security. It is prudent to use caution while discussing one's financial situation and future intentions after any possible transaction. Securely encrypt and save sensitive documents. To lessen the likelihood of cyberattacks, experts advise protecting online banking platforms and spreading money around to different banks. It appears that readiness and timing are the two most important factors in determining the results of economic transitions in the past. Successfully navigating such chances depends on being prepared, organized, and acting professionally, according to analysts. The message that organization and diligence are still crucial for participation is reinforced once the window opens, since sources indicate it may close without extension. During this long time, there has been a constant flow of unsubstantiated claims, hopeful whispers, and what seemed like an eternity of anticipation surrounding the potential future worth of certain historically undervalued currencies, namely the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. For these dedicated holders, the conversation has revolved around the long-term expectation of what many have believed would be a life-changing financial event. Nonetheless, rumors have begun to circulate within certain private networks, with the purported confirmation of numerous sources in operational roles, which could mean that the long-awaited beginning of a crucial stage of this process is finally here. The community refers to this reporting phase as Tier 4B, which is a classification that includes private individuals and smaller holder organizations, separate from the higher tiers that are reserved for government agencies and large financial institutions. As word of these findings has spread, it has energized the community and marked a transition from talk to action. Importantly, the data we have so far indicates that early redemption actions are progressing at peak rates, supposedly far higher than the average values seen in publicly traded Forex markets. Contrary to the ordinary market data for these currencies, which has been suppressed for a long time, these preferred rates, which are supposedly part of private contractual arrangements, are set much higher. Many people who have held on to their possessions and followed the often confusing and unpredictable news for years, are seeing this purported development as a possible turning point for a generation. There appears to have been a huge psychological change for everyone concerned, as the focus has shifted from idle speculation to actual implementation. Reports indicate that individuals are now allegedly participating in the actual real-world operations at specified secure locations, rather than concentrating on predicting the next rumor cycle, or waiting for an official announcement that never comes. From what we hear from those on the inside, these centers are up and running, scheduling early appointments with stringent identity and currency validation procedures, and exposing regular holders to a fantastic new world of finance that was previously just a pipe dream. In order to make sense of the bigger picture of what's happening here, you must know what the Tier 4B designation means. State entities, large central banks, and other elite financial organizations have traditionally been the only ones allowed access to any type of preferential or specially negotiated exchange opportunities. Participation in high-level reevaluations or international debt settlements was granted to these institutional entities as a result of their structural relevance in the global financial system. Tier 4B was always meant to stand in for the general public, the average investor who bought Iraqi dinars or Vietnamese dongs through official channels, frequently following advice from alternative financial news and community networks. These people are neither governments or huge global banks. They are ordinary people who have clung to the hope that they are part of a massive wealth redistribution event that will eventually go far beyond the top financial circles of the world. In this particular community, the idea of Tier 4B has grown into a potent representation of hope and democratic financial inclusion. It has been a guiding idea for many that non-institutional holders will be given an opportunity equal to the most powerful entities. These long-term beliefs have been confirmed by the activation that has just been reported. Unlike previous news that consisted of unsubstantiated assertions, the most recent accounts give specific details about the process, including the locations of secure facilities, appointment structures, and the actual documentation that was presented, as well as accounts of individuals entering these facilities, signing non-disclosure agreements, NDA, and leaving with these legally binding agreements in hand. This change in the data's fundamental character is revolutionary for the Tier 4B retail category. The focus of the discourse has shifted from if the event will happen to how quickly and smoothly the procedure will go, putting years of speculation into tangible practical reality. Allegedly, a complex multi-layered convergence of critical global circumstances led to the activation of the Tier 4B exchange, rather than a random event. Reports indicate that earlier this month, the U.S. Treasury conducted a secret meeting that granted the final authority for limited Tier 4B activity to begin. No other aspects of the strategy could have progressed without this high-level approval, which is characterized as the crucial political groundwork. After delicate discussions between political, financial, and international organizations lasted for years. Moreover, the IMF reform package, which targeted the central banks of Vietnam and Iraq, was finalized with this political clearance. The central banks of these countries were supposedly ready to join new global liquidity structures, after this package laid the groundwork for them legally and operational. The crucial legal groundwork that was lacking in previous stages of conjectural discussion is said to have been supplied by these technological and regulatory innovations. Reports also indicate that geopolitical conditions have reached a critical level of stability. And vital window of stability was formed when there was a temporary reduction in fighting inside normally volatile regions, and when Iraq's oil commerce strengthened, which boosted its financial credibility abroad. Such stability is considered an essential condition that cannot be compromised. This magnitude of financial catastrophe cannot take place in the midst of extensive geopolitical unrest or economic instability. Full operational state of sophisticated financial technology, particularly blockchain-based payment and settlement systems, is supposedly the last element of this convergence. In order to manage the enormous amount of money flowing through them, these systems supposedly offer an unparalleled degree of openness, safety, and fraud resistance. They overcome significant technological barriers that prevented a retail-level revaluation from being widely used before by enabling fast validation, comprehensive anti-counterfeit checks, and immediate liquidity release. When these four factors come together, you'll need U.S. regulatory approval, Treasury, IMF structural changes, geopolitical stability, and technical readiness all came together to produce a one-of-a-kind time when all the big hurdles disappeared at once. Many prominent figures in the financial industry insisted for a long time that a retail tier redemption would be impossible to pull off. But according to this new research, the chance is no longer just a theoretical possibility. It is actively materializing as a result of the convergence of global financial and political processes. Redeeming an item is said to occur at specially constructed, highly secure redemption centers. Early participants' detailed accounts show a very professional and controlled setting. Only those who have been through a thorough screening process are allowed access to these facilities. Walk-ins are not allowed. The invitations are supposedly sent over highly encrypted communications. Relatively strict identification verification is the first step in the arduous security procedures. All participants are required to provide up-to-date identification, including a passport, driver's license, and in many cases, an affidavit that has been notarized. In addition, it is reported that biometric scanning is used to stop any effort at fraud or impersonation, demonstrating how seriously the procedure is taken to keep it honest. After verification of identity is complete, anti-counterfeit technologies are used to conduct a thorough check of the physical money notes. Each note is double-checked for authenticity using methods such as micro-pattern recognition, magnetic ink verification, and ultraviolet light testing. Individuals are allegedly given a confidential rate sheet outlining substantial exchange values after the money has cleared.